Hello and welcome to the Cyber Den, your weekly dose of tech and games. I, Jake, will be chatting to professional voice actor Dennis Bateman. You may know him as the Spy and Pyro from everyone's favourite war-themed hat simulator, Team Fortress 2. Thanks for coming, mate.
Thank you for having me on, Jake. Greetings from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Now, Dennis, please tell everyone listening what inspired you to become an actor.
Look, that's kind of interesting. I think I was a high school student in southern Illinois in a very small agricultural town. It was a sort of county high school, and we had as our high school spring musical, Oliver, I think by Lionel Bart, if memory serves, which of course is based on the Charles Dickens story. I actually came down to the final cut for the role of Fagin, which I did get, and I beat out a good friend of mine who eventually went on to become an obstetrician. He was out and I was in, and so I played Fagin at the age of 18. Years later, I found out that Charles Dickens actually had, in about 1845, I think, visited that area where I grew up because he was interested in seeing a prairie, which apparently don't exist in England. I often thought how odd it would have been if someone had told him that 130 years later his story about Oliver Twist would be done by a bunch of pimply 18-year-olds in Carlisle, Illinois. So that's how I got started. That really gave me the bug, and then when I eventually graduated from college, I did major in acting and directing from a school in that vicinity as well. Moved to New York City for about a decade, after doing summer stock and dinner theater and touring around mostly the southeastern United States. And that's where I got, I think my best acting education was with a great actress named Uta Hagen, who wrote one of at least the American Bibles of the acting craft called Respect for Acting. She's passed away now, but it was a great experience.
Now, you've taken part in many projects, but more famously, for the deviously cunning spy and fire-obsessed Pyro from Team Fortress 2. So, how did you get the roles, and do you enjoy playing these characters? And if so, what is it that you like about them?
The jobs, I'm a professional voice talent as well as an actor, and so I do a lot of auditions for projects of this type, especially in the Seattle area. There's a lot of game work being done out here with Microsoft and Nintendo and Valve's company, of course, with Team Fortress 2 is here. So I would receive an audition notice from my agent here in Seattle. So my agent will send me audition notices via email. I will record them in my home studio and post them online. And then the producers listen to them. In this particular case, there was a new game, Team Fortress 2, and as I recall, the description for the spy character, the eventual sound of it actually was just my choice. I tried a bit of a German lilt, and then I tried a British accent and a French accent, which I guess is where you'd say it finally ended, but it was basically kind of a Eurotrash accent they were looking for as it was described to me. Hope that doesn't offend anyone on the continent, but that's what it was. And then, oddly enough, I was just in the studio recording the spy voice, which they liked from my audition. And they said, we have another character that actually doesn't speak per se. He makes sounds. And would you like to give that one a shot? And I said, well, sure. And so, they handed me a script. Of course, the Pyro has words on a page that I read, but they are garbled, as your listeners probably know if they play the game. And so I ended up just basically recording all those lines with my hand. As you see, I'm speaking underneath my hand, but this was the sound effect that they wanted, something that would give the impression that he had a mask on, and that he was a little bit over the edge. Now, in terms of how they're done, and whether I enjoy them, one of my favorite things in the world is voiceover work. I love to work in a studio to a microphone. There are all kinds of things that you can be creative with. And if there's any difficulty about game work, your listeners probably know that there's a lot of battle in these games, and most of them. Those battles require a lot of death howls and screeches and So we do end up spending a lot of time in the studio just making a lot of sounds of dying and battling and attacking and screaming at the people. That can be hard on the vocal cords, so I try to get those, I try to save those for last. If there's real dialogue, I ask we record the dialogue first so that my voice will be in good shape and sound beautiful, you know, as a spy. And then afterwards I say, fine, now let's scream for an hour. And so that's how game work usually transpires.
Now, quite a few fans out there are a bit skeptical about the Pyro's gender, keeping in mind, of course, this maniac who loves fire setting people ablaze. It's never really revealed who the Pyro is in terms of a gender, if he's a man or a woman. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I've heard something about this controversy or controversy, as I suppose you lot would say. You know, and honestly, I wish I could offer some pearls of knowledge about this, but that's all kind of a construct of the world of Team Fortress 2. You know, I hope I'm not producing a major spoiler here by saying that the Pyro's voice is actually a 60-plus gentleman who lives in Seattle. But I think it's great fun that this extra wrinkle has been added to the whole mythology of the Pyro. I don't know whether that came from Valve. I suspect that they probably picked up on it from responses they had from players, and then they just sort of ran with that. I don't know if you've seen all of the YouTube videos that relate to the Pyro, but there's some pretty fanciful ones up there, and I wouldn't give away any secrets for him unless I had his permission. So, you know, check back in later sometime.
Speaking of fan-made videos, etc., on the internet, have you checked any particular fan videos or pictures, etc., that your wonderful fans out there have made for the Spy and Pyro? Any that perhaps come to mind?
Yes, I have been very fascinated and in some cases gratified, and in some cases really curious about the creativity of some of the player fans out there. So I have checked some of those, yeah. Of course, I guess Valve puts out a series of Meet the Pyro, Meet the Spy, you know, Meet the Sniper, those sort of things, which are ubiquitous on the web. But yeah, there have been some that sort of parody those things, and I get a big kick out of all of them. There's one fellow who has even made a video of my voiceover career dating back to probably 20 years now, and where he found the footage, you know, the voice tracks for some of these characters that I frankly hadn't completely forgotten that I even did, is really a testament to somebody's tenacity, you know, because I wouldn't even begin to know where to find that stuff today, but there was the game logo, and there's the character, and there's my voice, so pretty impressed by that.
You've also done your fair share of work on the television and even on movies. Couldn't have been easy stuff, could it?
Oh no! I mean, movies and television are fantastic. I mean, it's easy to see why it's such a competitive, you know, profession, and why the supply is so much greater than the demand. Because if you're cast in a major network or studio production, or even you know, a well-produced independent film, there are just no downsides to it for me. I mean, generally, if there's money involved with the studio, you're treated like a king. They have a man Friday, you know, who is always there catering to your needs, asking if you need anything, make sure you're on set on time when you need to be in costume, and the craft services, as they call it, you know, when it comes lunchtime or breakfast time or dinner, whatever, are usually catered by gourmet chefs. It's just, I mean. It really is what everybody imagines. You know, it's great fun, and I love being on a set and seeing the enormous crew and the costumers and the sound people and all the other actors that all are there just in this fantastic buzz of activity, all dedicated to making you look good for your few seconds on screen. Now, there are cases where, you know, if the budget is low, then sometimes you're out there standing in the rain, or you're somewhere out in the boondocks, you know, trying to keep warm to get through your scene. But you know, I work generally, you know, union productions in my entire career. So in that case, there are certain rules and parameters that have to be observed in order to keep the actors safe and comfortable. getting the work is the hard part. That's the part that's tedious and frustrating, and you endure a lot of rejection. But when you do get into a part like that, then it's all worth it. I have some favorites. I did a film with Rutger Hauer and Martha Plimpton a few years back, based on a wonderful novel that was State of Maine here, called Beans of Egypt, Maine. It was a bestseller, and that is a favorite film of mine. I played a preacher in that one. Then I was cast in as a guest star in a television series for the TNT network. That's Turner Network Broadcasting. The show is called Leverage, and it's just an awful lot of fun. It's a crime solver with a group of impossibly beautiful and buff young ex-convicts who band together to take down corporate fat cats all over the world. And in that particular show, I got to work with, at the time, George Clooney's girlfriend, a lovely Italian named Elisabetta. So it was just, just an awful lot of fun. I was on set for a week and had a really fun role to play.
Dennis, thank you very much for coming on this interview on Siren FM 107.3.
Thank you, Jake. It's been fun. Let me extend my greetings and to all of your fans of Team Fortress 2 out there in the gaming world, and say thanks for keeping this game as popular as it's been all these years.
And I would like to thank my dear listeners out there for tuning into this great interview on the Cyber Den, your weekly dose of tech and games. This is Jake signing off. See you later, Dennis.
Adios to you, Jake, and good luck.